Hey everyone, and welcome back to the English podcast with Mark and me, Mandy. Today, we're diving into a topic that's so relevant for anyone learning a new language, dealing with misunderstandings.
Exactly. It's bound to happen. You miss a word, you misinterpret an idiom, and suddenly you're in a conversational tangle. But don't worry, it's not the end of the world. In fact, it's a fantastic opportunity to learn and build your confidence.
Absolutely. We'll be sharing some simple yet effective phrases you can use when you don't understand something or when you need to clarify what you mean. Plus, we'll have some exercises at the end to help you practice these skills. Make sure to stick around and let us know in the comments how you handle those lost in translation moments. You know, it's funny how sometimes even the simplest conversations can take an unexpected turn when you're still getting comfortable with a language.
Oh, tell me about it. I remember this one time. I was at a restaurant in Italy, and I thought I ordered a cappuccino, but somehow, what arrived was a plate of pasta. I must have mispronounced something terribly.
That's hilarious. It must have been so confusing in the moment, though. What did you do?
Well, at first I just kind of froze. But then I realized the best thing to do is just own up to the misunderstanding. I explained to the waiter, in my very broken Italian, that I thought I had ordered something else. He found it quite funny, actually, and we managed to sort it out.
That's great that it worked out. I think that's key, isn't it? Being able to laugh at the situation and not let it get awkward.
Definitely. Humor can be such a helpful tool in these situations. But of course, it's also important to have some go-to phrases for those times when you need to clear up confusion quickly.
Absolutely. Like, what do you say when you simply didn't catch what someone said? It happens to all of us.
Right. In those cases, you can simply say, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat that, please?" Or, "Would you mind speaking a little slower?" Being polite and direct is always appreciated.
Those are really helpful. And what about when you understand the words someone is saying, but you're not sure what they mean in that context?
Yes. That's when you can ask for clarification. You could say something like, "Could you explain what you mean by?" Or, "I'm not sure I understand. Could you give me an example?"
That's a good point. Asking for examples can really help to clear things up.
It really can. And the other person will likely be happy to help you understand.
And sometimes, you might need to clarify your own meaning, right? Like if you realize you've said something that could be misinterpreted.
Exactly. In those cases, don't hesitate to rephrase. You can say, "What I meant was," or to be more precise. It's all about ensuring that your message is communicated effectively.
I think that's such valuable advice, Mark. It's easy to feel embarrassed when these things happen, but really, it's all part of the learning process.
It absolutely is. And remember, everyone makes mistakes, especially when they're learning a new language. The most important thing is to keep communicating and keep learning from those experiences.
Well said. Now, let's move on to some vocabulary that came up during our chat today. I think there are some really useful words and phrases we can explore further.
Sounds good to me. I think misinterpret is a good one to start with.
You're right, Mark. Misinterpret is a very common word when talking about misunderstandings. It means to understand something incorrectly, to get the wrong idea.
Right. For example, I misinterpreted her silence as anger, but she was actually just tired. It's easy to misinterpret someone's tone in a text message, for instance.
Absolutely. And how about clarify? That's another important one we used. To clarify means to make something clearer or easier to understand.
Yes, and we can use it like this. "Could you please clarify what you mean by flexible hours?" It's always best to ask for clarification if you're unsure about something.
Exactly. And remember we talked about rephrasing? That means to say something again in a different way, often to make it easier to understand.
For instance, let me rephrase that. "I'm not saying I dislike the idea, I just think it needs some adjustments."
Perfect example. And finally, let's talk about context. Context refers to the situation or circumstances surrounding something, which can affect its meaning.
Yes, because sometimes a word can have different meanings depending on the context. For example, the word cool can refer to temperature, but it can also mean great or stylish.
Right. It's important to pay attention to context to avoid those pesky misunderstandings.
Absolutely. Now, I think it's time to test our listeners' comprehension with a few exercises.
You bet. Remember, everyone, listen carefully and tell us your answers in the comments. First question: where did Mark have his memorable misunderstanding?
That's right. Think back to the beginning of our conversation. And for our second question, what are some polite phrases you can use when you didn't hear something clearly?
Good one. We gave a few different options, so see if you can remember them. Okay, for question 3, why is it important to ask for clarification when you're not sure about something?
And finally, a bit of a thought-provoking one. Can you think of a time when you misinterpreted something someone said, and how did you resolve it?
So, today we've learned that misunderstandings are a normal part of language learning. They happen to everyone. The key is to not let them discourage you.
Exactly, Mandy. Instead, see them as opportunities to expand your vocabulary and improve your communication skills. Remember those helpful phrases we discussed for clarifying and rephrasing.
And don't forget the power of a good sense of humor. Sometimes a little laughter can go a long way in smoothing over those awkward moments. That's all we have time for on today's episode of the English Podcast with Mandy and Mark. Thanks for joining us on this language learning journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our future episodes. And we love hearing from you, so please leave a comment below with your thoughts on today's topic or any suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, happy English learning!